Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to your own Silicon Valley Tech Talks show, your go to place to learn about technology trends and innovations directly from the leaders. This is your host, Faisal Bhattu from San Jose, California. In today's show, we'll talk about enterprise AI opportunities around self hosted AI, where enterprises develop and own AI capabilities instead of accessing already developed AI models by third party providers. We are fortunate to have Meryem Arik as our guest today. Meryem is CEO and co-founder of Doubleword, a promising startup based in UK with a vision to provide seamless and secure infrastructure for enterprise AI developments. Meryem was recognized as Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree for her contributions in the AI space. So without any further delay, let's go and talk to Meryem and learn from her insights. Hi Meryem, welcome to our show. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks again for joining us. So, Miriam, tell us about the opportunity space around self-hosted AI. While there are many third-party providers who are able to provide access to top-notch, already developed AI models, why do enterprises even need to self-host AI?
Well, I often think about self-hosting versus using API providers, kind of like the decision between if you're going to rent a house or if you're going to buy a house. And when you first move into an area, you're trying out a new location, maybe I'm moving to a new city, then I'll probably want to rent for a couple months, like using an API provider to see if I really like the space. But in the long term, what everyone does really is they want to buy a place. They want something that they can own, that can't be taken away from them. From the enterprise setting, if I'm building mission critical applications on top of this AI, I need to make sure that I control it. I know exactly where my data is going and that I have complete independence from other people. So even though for POCs and when you're first trying out AI, it might be a good idea to rent and use a third-party API provider. In the long term for enterprises, self-hosting and having that control and independence is paramount and is going to become increasingly more important. Gartner recently released something that said in the long term, by 2028, 20% of enterprises will be self-hosting their models. So at the moment, it's mainly regulated industries, but going forward, it's going to be a large fraction of businesses that are choosing to really control and own their AI using great open source models or customized or fine-tuned models as well.
Makes sense. Businesses having more control on their AI seems compelling. However, self-hosting and owning these AI capabilities also have some challenges. For example, enterprises need more technical expertise. They might miss out on fast-paced innovations driven by third-party providers, or the upfront cost might be higher for enterprises. So, what do you think about these challenges?
It's a great point. And going back to the renting versus owning analogy, it's a lot of effort to own a house, right? You're responsible for the maintenance. You've got to go through like lengthy like legal agreements to actually purchase the house, and so it's a lot of effort to own a house, and it's a lot of effort if you're kind of doing it yourself to self-host your AI. You have to build a huge amount of infrastructure to serve and monitor those kinds of models. In fact, you're essentially reproducing an entire department at OpenAI full of specialists in every single enterprise, which is an incredibly expensive thing to do. It's also very high stakes if it goes wrong. If you're self-hosting and your API goes down in the middle of the night, then you're in big, big trouble. And that's exactly the bridge that we cross at Doubleword, is we want to make self-hosting AI as easy to use as using an API provider. And so our clients get all of the benefits of having the control over their AI, having independence, knowing that it's deployed in their environment and the data's not going anywhere. They have all of the benefit of that, but they don't have any of the burden of having to build the stack, having to maintain the stack, having to update it when a new model comes out, and all of those things. So we're really trying to reduce that trade-off between the renting, i.e., using a third-party API provider, and the buying of actually owning your AI and controlling your AI. And we want to make it as easy to own your AI as it would be to just use a third-party provider.
Can you tell us specifically what product you are offering for your customers and how is it solving the core problem around self-hosted AI as we discussed earlier?
So what we offer is a self-hosted AI inference platform. And what that actually is it's essentially all of the technology that you need to actually be able to self-host your language models. And not just language models, embedding models, all AI models. And that's comprised of a bunch of different layers. So you have at your very lowest layers, your inference engine. Then we have our scaling layer, which makes sure that we, scale up to more GPUs when we need it and scale down. Then we have our logging and monitoring layer, and then also our management layer around that. So there's a lot of different layers involved in our product. From our client's perspective, though, what they actually care about is at the end of the day, our product produces high quality, scalable AI APIs that they can build applications on top of. They don't need to worry about what's going on under the hood. They don't need to worry about what inference engine we're using or anything like that. But what they get is the reassurance that they can, with a couple clicks, deploy whatever AI model they're interested in, get an AI API that will scale with them, that is cost effective, that is low latency, that they can build on top of. And so we're essentially completely removing the kind of the burden of having to think about how you build that stack and just turning it instead of to, I want to deploy this model. Okay, I've deployed that model privately in my environment, and now I have an API that I can build on top of.
Can you give us some example of end-to-end use cases which your product is enabling for enterprises?
Yeah, so essentially anything that you can build with third-party AI API providers, you can build with our product. One kind of really nice use case that I see a lot is around document intelligence and large-scale document intelligence. So some things that open source models are really, really good at is, for example, visual understanding. And with visual understanding models, you can, instead of using something like OCR, look at a document and be able to really understand that document, extract charts and tables, and be able to actually understand it in the way that a human would. And so we see a lot of use cases which are built around this document intelligence and document processing using these kinds of models. Other common use cases that we see are use cases that involve fine-tuning or domain-specific models. One big advantage of when you might want to self-host versus using a generic third-party AI model is if you're in a domain that has a lot of domain expertise. So in, for example, pharmaceutical is a great example. So we have clients in the pharma space who are deploying fine-tuned AI models that can much better understand their particular domain and their particular remit, and leads to much better results than something like GPT-4 or something like that. So although the use cases we support are essentially anything that AI can support because we're providing these AI APIs, use cases that I'm particularly excited about are around document intelligence and also for domains where they have domain-specific knowledge and language.
I noticed that you had a name change recently from Titan ML to Doubleword. What does the new name signify?
So there's two reasons. There's two reasons why we really loved the name Doubleword. The first one is when the company started before ChatGPT, we actually came out of PhD research, and we were interested in researching ways to compress deep learning models and also data type compression. And Doubleword is a data type, and that was a really nice signal back to kind of our origins and where we started. We also really liked the idea that Doubleword has word in the name. And the reason why is because we really strongly believe that we're in a paradigm shift of how we interact with computers and how we interact with the intelligence that's locked in with computers. It used to be, and I guess still kind of is, that we interact through code, and that's quite an elite thing. There aren't, even though, probably all of us are engineers, not many people in the world are engineers and can really interact with computers at a really deep level. But we're seeing increasingly that the interface to computers and the interface to intelligence will actually be words. And that's really exciting because that's incredibly accessible. And I think that will really democratize a lot of things going forward. So Doubleword, we liked the name. It harked back to our research days. And also we think it signifies the change that we're seeing in terms of how we interact with intelligence.
Meryem, I know that you have been tracking the AI space in general closely. So, what do you think about how enterprise AI space is shaping up in next few years, and how is your company planning for it?
Yeah. So I think Dataiku recently released a study that said 74% of enterprise CEOs fear being fired in the next 2 years if they can't deliver on AI. That's a huge amount, and that's a huge amount of pressure. And every single enterprise CEO, management board are facing this kind of pressure of having to deliver with AI. And so we see people moving really, really quickly to try and get something out the door, to try and get POCs, something they can shout about or write a press release about. And we've been seeing that last year and this year. We're going to continue seeing that more and more because these leadership will continue to feel that pressure. But what we're going to start seeing more and more, and we've started it seeing this year and 26 and 27, is going from just deliver AI at all costs, just deliver AI POCs, to we should do this properly. Of we need to think about long term. Do we want our AI to be controlled within our own environment? Do we want to have AI that we're renting from a third party, or if it's mission critical, do we want to actually deploy that locally? So we think there's this trend from we need to have AI at all costs to we still need to innovate really, really quickly, but we also need to make sure we're doing this all properly and acting in the long-term interests of our AI strategies.
I noticed that you had a really exciting announcement with Snowflake recently. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, so we've been working with Snowflake for a while, and we have a number of mutual customers. And the announcement is that our product, Doubleword, will be available on the Snowflake marketplace. So Snowflake clients will be able to go and download it and try it out on their own use cases. And the biggest use case we're driving with this new app is we will enable Snowflake users to access essentially hundreds of thousands of AI models that they couldn't access before. So within Snowflake, they have this fantastic service called Cortex, where they serve the most popular AI models. But for some domains like healthcare, manufacturing, or finance, where actually you need something a bit more domain specific, you need something that really understands your language, maybe it's very, very, very niche, your use case might not be served by this big generic models, but actually you'll need something very specific. And what we will enable you to do is take any model from Hugging Face, including fine-tuned versions that you might have fine-tuned privately, and deploy them in Snowflake where your data lives. So we're making it's a really fantastic partnership. It's a genuine example of we're better together. And we think it's going to be really impactful for our joint Snowflake users.
Definitely seems very exciting. Thank you so much, Meryem, for joining our show. I'm sure audience learned a lot from your insights.
Thank you so much.